Hey everyone, it's Thomas here. So today I'm going to talk about the Klipsch RP8000F. Now, here's the RP600M, and for those of you who have seen the video on the RP600M, you know that I really wanted to try the big brother. And the reason is because I really like the speaker. Now, I actually prefer floor standing speakers over stand mount speakers because I like that full range sound. However, because it's easier to work with small speakers, easier to transport, I spend a lot of time reviewing small speakers. Now, only when the bookshelf or the stand mount catch my attention, really catch my attention, that's where I seek out the big brother, because this is more for me. So in today's video, we're going to answer the question, did it disappoint me or it lived up to my expectations? Alright guys, in the interest of time, you know my videos, they're always so short. I'm going to cut things out. I'm not going to go over the specifications. You can just Google it, alright? Instead, I'll focus on how I feel about the speaker and the differences. And I'll tell you a few stories on the way. Okay? Now, to summarize it, if somebody asks me how they sound, they're very dynamic, right? That's the Klipsch horn. They're very lively, forward sounding, forward side of neutral, and they have decent bass if you have very good front end amplification, and they're a lot of fun to listen to. I'm sure most of you by now should know how this sounds. There's so many reviews on it, and if you don't, go watch my RP600M video. Compared to the older Klipsch speaker, this is a more well-rounded speaker, meaning that more people will appreciate it. Because first of all, it's more coherent, and second of all, that shoutiness is not like the old Klipsch speakers. So therefore, it's easy to recommend if you're okay with forward side of neutral type of speaker. Like if you're okay with it being a little bit revealing, a little bit bright in a good way. The only thing, of course, is assuming that your front end pairs well with it. Depending on how you position it, depending on your front end, you can go for long listening sessions without listening fatigue. So during this review period, I tried it with 4 different setups. 3 of them worked well, and one was not so good. So the ones that worked well were with the IOTAVX. That combo, I did have to turn up the bass to +3 with tone control, and I had to use an external DAC. The built-in DAC was a little bit too lean sounding for me, but once I have the external DAC and +3 with the tone control for bass, it sounded great, and I was able to listen for long sessions. I also paired it with my Modrite LS100, my Exasound E28, as well as the Moon W5.3, also the Classic D200. That, of course, is a higher end setup, and it paired well with it. That setup, though, pairs well with bright speakers. My Focal Cantus, my KEF LS50, and a few other bright speakers that I've tried with, it works well. So that setup also worked well with this. And finally, the one that surprised me the most was with the Yamaha WXA50 with an external DAC. We were quite blown away, and we realized that you actually don't need a lot of power to drive these speakers with good bass. And I'm waiting to get the Yamaha WXA50. I'll do a bit more testing with these speakers once I get it, so also wait for my review on the WXA50. So how do these two speakers differ? Well, first of all, in terms of dynamic, they're both dynamic, probably equal, but the soundstage is definitely bigger with this one. It stretches left and right more, and it's taller. I noticed that instruments do stretch beyond the speakers, so you do have a big soundstage. In terms of instrument separation, however, this actually is better. And I noticed that with speakers when they have less bass. Instrument separation seems to be cleaner. Next, when it comes to mid-bass, this is the ultimate winner by a mile. But when it comes to bass definition, this is actually better. So you're like, oh, okay, interesting. This, when you sit far enough, it does feel like a small speaker. And this one, it has scale when you listen to orchestra music. So if you listen to classical music, and most importantly, if you have the room, this is the way to go. If you like that punchy bass, and the bass is tight, and it's pretty fast, goes okay low, this is the way to go. This, if you have the money to buy 2 REL subs to go with it, which doesn't make sense because it costs more than double of that, yeah, the bass will be more sophisticated, more control, more defined, but you're talking about significantly more money. Even if you buy 1 subwoofer, I would personally go for this one, just simply because I have the room for it here. I have, bass traps fully treated, and that's why I personally prefer this one over this one, even though it has a subwoofer. All right, so let me tell you a story, okay? The reason why I still have this speaker here is because my friend who bought it off me heard this speaker. He dropped by to pick this up, and then I say, let's do A/B test. And after that, he said, Thomas, can you please help me sell this one? I want that one instead. Some of you might be asking, so how does it compare to, let's say, your Polk LSIM 707? As you know, that's my favorite speaker because of the sharp discount. With that speaker, whenever I listen to it, when I pair it with a high-end front-end gear, you know that you're going for a serious listening session. It's quiet, it's solid, there's no cabinet resonance, and bass is really, really tight and controlled. The top end could be a bit more refined, sure, but overall, you know that you're going for a serious listening session if you pair it with very good front end. This one, you know that you're going to have fun. And that's what's nice about the Klipsch RP8000F. I actually have more fun listening to this than a lot of my other speakers. I've been living here for 14 years. Only 3 times my wife rushed down from upstairs because it was too much. Why? Because one night I was pushing the volume on it. When I listen to this, I kind of forget. You're just having so much fun, you're just raising up the volume, and you just want to have that live feel. And at one point, I see my wife going like, Thomas, what the hell are you doing, man? The kids are asleep. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it's true. And also because of the fact it has a lot of bass. So the bass was, yeah, she can feel it upstairs. So only 3 times. And one of the time was with the Klipsch. So things to consider before buying these speaker. Number 1, make sure you have the room for it. Second, be aware that these speakers are forward sounding. They're lively. And so therefore, what you match with it is very important. So if you're somebody who is sensitive to speakers like vocal, kefs, monitor audio, then you might have to be careful when choosing these speakers. Make sure you have a good return policy, or at least audition them before you take them home. Keep in mind there's a break-in period. Before break-in and after break-in, the top end brightness, there is a big difference. And also the tightness in the bass, there is a difference. Alright guys, so I'm going to wrap it up at this point. So needless to say, these are fun speakers. And the reason why I say they're fun is because the bass is very tight, fast, and it goes pretty low. When bass is fast and tight, it's very enjoyable. If you never experienced fast, tight bass, these are pretty good. Just make sure your front end has enough juice to control the drivers. If you want more definition, I guess you can go with this. Sure, it does not have the same definition as this, but it's still pretty good, especially if your front end has good control on the bass. Having spent time with this Klipsch RP8000F further reinforced this idea I have, that today's budget speakers are no longer the same as yesterday's. If I have to do my audio journey again, if I have to start over, I would actually spend more money on the front end and then get myself something like this. Because what I noticed is that today's budget speaker scales really well. And you'll be surprised what these speakers can do when you plug them to, let's say, a $10,000 front end setup. Of course, if you plug it to a $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, it's still fantastic. I'm just saying that it scales really well. So, I keep surprising my friends actually, because they're used to really high-end speakers. Whenever they drop by, they scratch their head, and they sometimes even make comments, how do people sell high-end speakers now that you know, these budget speakers are so good. For sure, this speaker has its issues like, I don't know, cabinet resonance. You know, as I mentioned, the bass definition could be a little bit better, but maybe with the RF higher series, they don't have this issue. I don't know. I have to try it. But it doesn't change the fact that I have a lot of fun with it. And for 1004, 1003, this is definitely a very, very good buy. Okay, guys, till next time.